Hello, and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter, and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks, and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
Many writers don't realise just how much their time is really worth, and we waste a lot of time doing things that can be automated. That's why I love Rounded. It tracks invoices so I don't have to remember who's paid and who needs chasing up. And when I started using Rounded, I realised how much time I'd been wasting on admin, literally hours every week. Now it takes me about 2 minutes to send an invoice.
Yeah, and it's worth knowing that you can try Rounded for free. And if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you're in luck. You can save 20% on any annual Rounded plan.
Hi Lynne, how you going? We have another great guest this week, and it's all about getting published as an author, which I know is always a really popular topic with our listeners who are often journos, who want to become an author, or they are dabbling in both the journalism and writing book side of things.
Yes, I think there's a few of them with a book in the bottom drawer. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
So our guest this week is Jodie Spiteri-James, who's part of the ASA, which is the Australian Society of Authors. She's going to tell us all about the ASA's famous literary speed dating events, which I think is so exciting, as well as some tips on getting published. Do you want to introduce Jodie?
Yep, love to. Jodie Spiteri-James is the Professional Development and Events Manager at the ASA. Jodie has over 20 years of experience in the publishing industry, ranging from sales and marketing as sales director at Hachette to managing director of Thames and Hudson Australia. Most recently, Jodie has been a speaker coach, working with emerging speakers, building their confidence and certainty into a powerful commercial voice. And since joining the ASA, Jodie has put together a professional development program to equip ASA members with the knowledge and information to successfully achieve their publishing goals. Wow, welcome, Jodie. I imagine you're a very popular person at the ASA.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, 20 years is a long time in publishing. You must have seen a lot of changes in that time. So tell us about what you've witnessed.
Oh, so much. 20 years is a long time. And it's like 20 plus now, because I still consider this job at the ASA as working in publishing. I'm just going to go with a couple of changes, the biggest ones. So the biggest ones are the format changes that have happened over that time. And by format, I mean where the way that we read books, the way we listen to books, the way we digest a book content. And that is with the onset of reading digitally and using platforms such as the Kindle. And as technology has advanced, so has the way we read books. So reading things digitally, also listening to books. So those people that read books as in listen to books on Audible and platforms like that. So that's been a big change. And of course, when those things started to come about, people in publishing didn't know what was going to happen and didn't know if the printed book was still going to exist. So it created a lot of curiosity about where it was going to go. And the other big change in publishing over the time has been the growth of the big publishing companies to the point where they were merging with each other. So, for example, Penguin merging with Random House to become Penguin Random House. They were the two biggest publishing companies that joined, and Penguin bought Random House. So, so those sorts of things. The other thing that happened when we had these big conglomerates, global publishing companies getting bigger and bigger, it started from the other end, a lot of small companies, small organizations, even small businesses wanting to help writers and authors become published and be part of that publishing world. And so they started businesses where they would help people become published. And then you've got that kind of level of publishing where we call self-publishing or independent publishing. And that now there are so many businesses taking money from people, some good, some not so good, in getting their book published. So the rise of self-publishing has definitely been a big change that we've seen in that time.
Amazing. I want to go back to the whole digital book, because off air we were talking about how you still love a real book. Is that a constant debate at the ASA? You know, people who have moved to Kindle and those early adopters of the tech and that sort of thing, with the old school, I'm only a real book reader.
No, it's not. It's something we've just accepted now.
Yeah.
And most people, I find, do a mixture of both,
Yeah.
or a mixture of three. So they might read something on their Kindle, they might listen to something in their car, and they might every so often buy an actual book because they want the tactile experience of reading an actual book. I can't do Audible and podcasts because I'm not an auditory person. I need to read, and I need to physically hold something in my hand. So it's one way or the other. There's no harm. I don't have anything against anyone who loves listening to a book.
Yeah.
That's fine with me, because as long as the content creator is paid, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm definitely like you. I can't listen to a book. I have to read it either on a Kindle or a real book. But my kid, Audible has been so good for him, because I can put it on at night, and I find that it's really good with kids' books.
Yeah. Some kids' books work, other kids' books don't. Obviously, a picture book, it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
Chapter books, maybe.
Exactly right.
See, I listen to Audible or an audiobooks a bit occasionally, not that often, but I love the tactile book. I don't have the Kindle or any e-readers. So we're all mixture of everything, and it's great, isn't it? That's a lovely thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about some of your big publishing successes. Any sort of favourite memories? You'd have a few, I'm sure.
Oh, I do have a few.
Ones that you can share.
Yeah, well, there's been so many, and there's so many that I'm proud of. One in particular is Jessica Watson. So Jessica Watson and her book True Spirit. Books always start from somewhere. And Jessica, I'm going to tell you the story of how this happened and how I was involved in it. I was at a dinner party with my girlfriends, and I've known these girls since I was 6 years old. And here I was standing around the kitchen bench, all having a glass of champagne and asking each other how we were. And I happened to say to one of my friends, "How's Andrew," her husband? And she said, "He's great. He's trying to find a book deal at the moment for this young girl who's only 16, and she's about to do a solo sail around the world." And just that day, that exact afternoon, I'd been sitting at my kitchen table looking at my daughter, who was 17, 18 at the time, at her Dolly magazine. And in the top right-hand corner was a tiny, like 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter, tiny article of about 20 words about Jessica Watson. And I said to my girlfriend, "Oh, I saw something about her today." And I said, "Tell Andrew to come and talk to me." And I was a sales director at a Hachette at the time. So we had an email exchange. He brought Jessica into the office. We were ready for them to come in, and we signed the deal for Jessica's book before she had even set sail.
Wow.
So, and that book went on to do multiple formats. It's now read in schools. It's obviously a Netflix movie that's just, it's been on Netflix recently. And I was part of that book all the way through, following Jessica around the world on her trip. I went on publicity promotions with her. I was in Mackay when she went and did this huge event as part of Mackay Festival, and had like 1,000, 2,000 people in the audience. It was just huge, and it was so great to be part of it. And I'm so proud of her and what she did. And I always feel proud of her journey and the book that we created for that.
Oh, that's such a great story. That really is.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It shows that books can happen from totally different random events and connections.
Absolutely. It was always going to be a book, but was it going to be a book at Hachette that I was part of? And it just so happened that it just all fell into place, and it was fantastic. Other books that I've been really happy to be a part of, when I was at Thames and Hudson, the Rolling Stones did a tour of Australia, and it was their 50th anniversary tour. And Thames and Hudson do gorgeous illustrated books. And it was a big hardcover, gorgeous coffee table book that was fully illustrated, fully backed up by the Rolling Stones. And the marketing campaign for that, we put our heart and soul into, because we wanted to sell so many books, and we had to make sure it was in right up front and center of every bookshop. And we did it, and we were really happy with it. So not a book that I was part of the acquisition of, but a book that I was really happy with the marketing campaign that we did. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, as we talked about offline, I mean, many of our listeners are writers and journalists, and some of them might be interested in writing a book. So where do you start? That's such a big question, I know.
Yeah, it is a big question. So let me break it down for you. So the first thing, that when any writer is doing any piece of work, but let's talk specifically books. So when someone says, I might write a book about that, the very first thing you need to do is sit down and write out why you want to write it. So always know your why. It's the Simon Sinek thing, right? Always know your why. So if you know your why, the reason why you want to do it, that will not only propel you to keep doing it, and you can keep looking back at your why and going, why am I doing? Because it's hard work. It's really, really hard work, and it takes a long time. It can't be done overnight. And at times authors are going to think, oh, why am I doing this? And then if you go back to your why, you'll remember why you're doing it. The second thing is, who is it for? Who's it for? Who's your market? And then what do you want to achieve from it? So when we're talking about who is it for, it's who's the person who's going to read your book. So it's knowing your avatar. So your avatar, as in your target market, who are they? Are they women who are aged between the age of 25 and 40? Are they teenagers between the age of 18 and 21? Where do they hang out? You need to really know about what do they like reading? What stories have they read in the past? So know your why, your who, and your what. So why you want to do it, who is it for, and what you want to achieve. Now, when we're talking about what you want to achieve, that is specifically about, do you want to sell copies?
Yes.
Or is it just for your family? So some people, and it's totally fine, some people just want to write a book that tells the story of their grandparents for future generations. And that's fine. Never going to sell copies. You might want to just print 10 copies or 15 copies. But if you want to be a bestseller, then you need to write that down and then go, okay, so I want to be a bestseller. And then obviously, to be a bestseller, you have to be the best at your craft.
Yeah.
So very first thing is, where, in terms of where they start, the why, the who, and the what, and then do courses. So when you've got all of those things and you've set your goals, do the courses to immerse yourself in your craft, because only the best writers are published. And it's a matter of thinking, okay, I'm writing a book. Who is it for? What do I want to do with it? And then going, okay, if I want this to go into a bookshop, if I want my book to be in every bookshop of every state in Australia and every airport bookshop, what do I need to do to get that?
Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to be excellent at your craft. So no publisher is going to publish a book they're not going to be proud of, that's not up to it.
Yeah.
No bookseller is going to take a book that they think they can't sell. And no matter what you do, if you want your book to be purchased by someone, if you want someone to hand over their hard-earned cash for your book, it has to be worth them paying for it. So, and the whole thing of publishing is, everyone's in a market for something. So authors are in the market for readers. And bookshops are in the market for readers.
Yeah.
And publishers are in the market for readers. So you have to know your reader.
That is so interesting that you say that. And I totally agree with you. But I was at the Writers' Festival on Friday, and I saw Martin Mackenzie Murray being interviewed by Wendy Harmer for the scriptwriter. And he just won the Russell Humour Prize and stuff. She asked him, who did you write it for? And he said, no one. I wrote it for myself. And if I had a laugh while I was writing it and I found the jokes funny, then that was enough for me. Like, there wasn't any specific audience in mind. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And if you're an emerging writer, and if you are starting out and you don't have a name, then you might write 3 books before the 4th one gets published.
Yeah.
So, and then you're writing, you're writing for yourself, but publishing is a very long game.
Yeah.
It's a very
definitely.
long game. It's a long game for writers. It's a long game for people who get contracts or people who are doing independent publishing. It takes a long time. And in Australia, it takes a shorter time than what it does in the US and the UK. It takes longer in the UK from when they contract your book to when they publish your book. So it's, it can be 3, 4, 5 years.
It is a long game.
Oh my God.
So I guess part of what we're talking about is that, does everyone have a book in them? And I guess you've sort of answered that a little bit, because maybe there are some people who shouldn't be publishing. You must get the ones where they're convinced that their story about their grandmother's such and such is really important, but sometimes it just isn't, or it's okay for the family, but beyond that,
no commercial.
Yeah.
How do you talk them off the ledge?
It's memoirs and biographies are really, really hard, and publishers find it very hard to sell them to bookshops because publishers sell to bookshops. So, and bookshops don't take anything that they know they can't sell. So for it to sell, there has to be a market for that, as I've said. So if you're writing a memoir or a biography, then who's interested in reading that? If you're and I mean this kindly, if you're a nobody and you're writing about your grandmother who was a beautiful family woman and might have been the head of, the Wool Corporation Board or something like that, that's great. But who would be interested? Maybe the Wool Corporation Board would, or maybe your extended family would, but really would the general public be interested? Everyone has a book. Everyone can sit down and write something, and by all means go ahead and do it. But if you want to get published, it has to be something that there is a market, that either is going to be a market, you create a market, or that there is an existing market for it.
That's great advice. So the ASA recently did a survey on authors using AI, and some of the results from that were really interesting. We put it in our weekly wrap up. And it made me think, AI is kind of filtering into so many creative, areas at the moment. So it's really like making people think about their lives and their writing practices and all of that. I'd be really interested to see, what do you make of all the LinkedIn people who are, coming onto LinkedIn and saying, I've written this book in a month with ChatGPT and here's how you can do it. I mean, have you seen all of that happening?
Well, they probably won't sell, I'd like to think.
No. Well, I mean, there's a couple of different things there. So the first thing I'll say is on LinkedIn is a home for experts, and it's really great for nonfiction. So if you've written a book, if you're an expert in your field and you have written a book on that field that you're an expert in, and you have credibility, so if you are the credible expert, then fine. Write your book and you'll have a market for it. Like speakers, that's great. A speaker can write their IP into a book and then it helps when they get jobs as a speaker. So that's fine. The main thing with it, with that whole AI, it kind of hurts my heart because
I think we're with you there.
Using it to write an entire book, it feels very very sad.
It's just not authentic. I'm big on authenticity, particularly with nonfiction. You just want your voice. You want, I speak in a certain way and I've got a certain language. How does that come out if it wasn't me writing it? How does it come out if a chatbot did it? And are they my words? No, they're a chatbot's words. Would I be happy to put my name on the bottom of a book that said I was the author if I hadn't actually written it? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be happy with that at all. I'd feel like a fake. I wouldn't sleep at night because in my head I'd be going, I'm a fake, I'm a fake, I'm a fake. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't work for me. I really want authors to be happy and proud of what they've written. And if a chatbot's done it, no reason to be proud of that. Yeah, you did it in a month, but no heart's in it. Not your soul's not in it. They're not your words. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So do you see authors making a lot of mistakes, like prospective authors or even like sort of new authors? We've talked a little bit occasionally on this podcast about agents. Is that the sort of thing an agent can do, sort of get an author ready for publishing? Are they essential?
Agents don't get authors ready for publishing. That's not how an agent works. What an agent does, and obviously I'm not an agent, so I'm speaking of in terms of my experience working with agents and knowing quite a few agents. When we do literary speed dating, which we're going to come to shortly, but when we do literary speed dating, we have agents come in. So where an agent is useful is if you've written something really, you've got a great concept, you've got a great book, you've done all your work on it, you're ready to go with it. There's lots of different scenarios, but say you've submitted it to a couple of publishers and you've got feedback going, it's not quite ready yet, or it's not for us, or whatever feedback, and then you might put it in front of an agent, and an agent will know exactly which publisher you should be submitting to, because they know the publishers and they know what they're looking for and they know what they've done well with. So an agent can help you field your work out into the right place that you, being an author, don't necessarily know about. They can also help with rights, if you've got something that might be great for a Netflix series or whatever. So agents can kind of go across not just publishing, but multiple different platforms. So if I just go back to the first part of that question, which was the mistakes. So one of the mistakes that can happen is people go too early. So someone might sit down and write a book and go, put their pen down and go, I'm finished. Woohoo. And then I'm going to send it out to publishers now. But they haven't done multiple drafts. They haven't read back over it. They haven't read it out loud. They haven't worked with a mentor on it. It's just not ready. And so submitting too early before you're ready, that's a massive mistake, because you really only get one go at submitting. The other mistake is thinking that you know how the publishing works. So one of the things that we do at the ASA is we guide people in how to navigate the industry. We're wrapping up this week with a 3-series session course on navigating traditional publishing, where we've had people from within the industry come in and say, this is how this part works, and this is how this part works, and this is how this part works. So finding out all of that information and not going in blind is a mistake. So gather as much information, immerse yourself in the industry. So do courses, do mentorships, find out as much as you can, go online and hang around online with people who are authors, and just watch, listen and learn.
Oh, that's
they're
interesting.
great tips.
Yeah.
Well, you've obviously worked a lot in sales and marketing in the publishing industry. So what are the types of things that can really help to sell a book?
Well, the biggest one we've already talked about multiple times today, which is marketing. Okay, so marketing,
knowing your market.
Yeah.
So if we just go deeper into that, knowing your market and where the people in your market hang out. So know specifically about your avatar. Who are they? Where do they hang out? And then hang out where they hang out. So when I say hang out, I mean, who do they follow on social media? It's obviously easier for that if you're a fiction writer or a non-fiction writer for adults. For kids, it's watching what other authors do to market their books. So if you're an emerging author and you've just started out and you're doing a YA novel or a middle grade book, and you can't actually tap straight into the children, you're not directly relating to children, then who's the market? The market is the uncle or the aunt or the mother or the father. So tap into where they find their books. Talk to librarians about how books have become, how do they get kids to read books? The next part of that, start conversations with people, join in those communities and hang out with them. But always remember, the biggest thing that you have very little control over is word of mouth.
Yeah.
So sometimes a publisher will say, I have no idea how that book sold as many copies as it did. And all they can put it down to is word of mouth. So how does that word of mouth happen? It's giving away free copies. It's going to libraries and saying, can I come and talk to your readers groups? Can I do a free talk? It's creating that buzz. So I know a number of self-published authors who have done their own marketing, and the way they've done it is through social media, through Instagram. Like some of them have said, I don't do Facebook. And I've said, well, use your Instagram account. Go and take photos of you talking to bookshops, take a photo of you with your book, with another author. So I recommend that people, in terms of marketing, that they do courses. So the ASA also has courses on branding and marketing and, promoting your book. It is really, really hard. Lots of people spend a lot of money and independently publish their book, and they can spend $15,000 getting copies of their book, and they put it on Amazon, and then nothing happens. Now, why does nothing happen? Because there's no market's been created. No one knows it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So important. I also wanted to particularly talk about the ASA's literary speed dating events, because we've heard a lot about them. In fact, one of our previous guests mentioned it. So tell us about how they work and what they do for aspiring authors.
Oh, it's one of the best programs that we run at the ASA, and we've actually become really, really well known for it. Publishers and agents say to us, it's getting better and better every time, and the quality of people's getting better and better every time. So let me explain how it works. It is an event that we run 3 times a year. We have publishers and agents go into a Zoom room. So we have multiple rooms running at a time. We run it over 2 days. So it runs on a Wednesday and a Friday, and multiple rooms will be running at a time. Someone from the ASA is there. So I would, for example, be in a room with one particular publisher or agent. So there'd be the publisher and myself. And then in the waiting room are authors who have paid $27.50. It's about to go up to $30, I think, coming up in July. So it's not that much, in the scheme of life, it's not that much. And you sit in the waiting room, you've got your time, you know what time you've got to be there, you've got your Zoom link, you come into the waiting room, and then someone from the ASA, so I would bring the person into the Zoom room, and then we start a timer for 3 minutes.
Oh, wow. It's not long.
3 minutes.
Not long. But in that 3 minutes, you pitch your book to the publisher or agent. And at the end of the 3 minutes, the timer goes off. And then there's about a 30-second window for the publisher or agent to ask questions. And then we say, thanks very much. And the author leaves the room, and the publisher or agent makes a couple of notes, and then the next person comes in.
Wow.
So each session goes for about an hour and a half, and there's about 27 people in that at 90 minutes. So bang, 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 bang. Now, from an author's point of view, that 3 minutes is really full on, right?
Yes.
And you've got every single word needs to count. So it's about 390 words. You can't speak too quickly and you can't speak too slowly. If you nail it, there will be no questions. The publisher or agent will say, thank you very much. That was an awesome pitch. We'll be in touch. So what we encourage people to do is do a course that we run called Pitch Perfect, and that gives information about what's happening in the industry at the moment. So information about which publishers are open for submissions, what's happening in the industry. We also give information on how to pinpoint your genre, and all sorts of things about how to get to know your book really well, how to write your synopsis. And then in the last session, because it's a 3-session course, we teach people how to structure their 3-minute pitch. And that's a game changer. And if you follow everything that we say at the end of that pitch, you would have covered everything and there'll be no questions because they'll just go, I've got everything. So that's the process on the day. What happens after that is the publisher or agent comes back to the ASA with a list of people whose material they want to see. And they'll ask for example, they'll ask for the first 10 pages, the synopsis, and your author bio. That comes to us. We then email that out to the authors and say, congratulations, your material has been requested. And we put the author in touch with the agent directly, and then the ASA steps away. And by stepping away, what I mean by that is the relationship is then between the author and the agent or the publisher. And we kind of go, okay, we put you in touch, go for it. And then we hear later on about whether or not there's been successes and, whether that's led on to a publishing deal, which often it has.
How interesting. So is it like one publisher and all the pitches go to that one publisher, or is it multiple on the day that you might pitch to 3 publishers, or
So we have multiple publishers in multiple different Zoom rooms over the course of the day. So it runs in sessions.
Yeah.
And one publisher is in one room and people pitch to that one publisher. And then what happens is if you're an author and you want to pitch to multiple publishers, you can only do 2 pitches per literary speed dating event. So you can't book 10 pitches to 10 publishers because it's really difficult to make sure you're in the right room at the right time. And we want people to have a go at pitching twice. And then if they don't get picked up, then they need to sit back and have a think about what went wrong in my pitch or what feedback did I get. You don't actually get feedback in the pitch itself, but you get feedback from yourself. Like, did the publisher kind of, steel door came down?
Yes.
Did they glaze over? Did they go, thanks, but not for me? Or sorry, you have to be really careful that you've picked the right publisher to pitch to, that they are actually looking for what you want. Otherwise, you're wasting your pitch. You're wasting your money, but you're wasting time with them as well.
And how often do you run them?
3 times a year.
3 times a year. Okay.
Oh,
tell us about some of the success stories.
So Shelley Burr has been a fantastic success story. She was published by Hachette, and that book just won an award at the Australian Book Industry Awards. She secured an agent at Literary Speed Dating and then went on to be published by Hachette. Peter Scott, who was a Commodore in the I was going to say Navy, the Navy. In the Navy. So he pitched directly to a publisher. He pitched to Fremantle Press, and I was in that pitch room, as in I was in the Zoom room with him, and I could see straight away that the publisher, Georgina, she was like, I could tell by watching her that she's going to publish this book. I could just see the excitement on her face. And that book's just been published a couple of months ago. Philip Carson, who secured an agent. So he secured an agent and then was then published by a firm press. That's just a couple of recent ones. So those books are out now on the shelves, and there's been lots over the time. And as I was saying to both Lynne and Rachel earlier, sometimes we don't hear because we've stepped back, as in the ASA stepped back, and the
author and the publishing.
Then we rely on the author or the publisher to let us know and say, I got a deal and it's gone through and my book's being published. So sometimes we don't hear that, and we love to hear those things. So we always encourage people.
You need to set up an automation that anyone who's bought a ticket to that. Sorry, this is just me, like, forcing my advice on you. But if you had an automation like 6 months after that speed dating event, you might get a heap more stories.
But most times people are really excited to tell us. So,
So I want to ask the $1 million question, or not. Can you make a living as an author of books in Australia?
I would say yes, you can. It is very rare. The income that authors make hasn't changed for years, and it's not very much. So you can make a living if you become one of the best-selling authors, like Michael Robotham. He's Australian. He makes a living from writing. Most authors supplement their income in some way, shape, or form. So they might be a creative writing teacher. They might teach at university. They might do freelance work. It's very rare, but it is possible.
And what about working in book publishing? Is that a tough gig at the moment? Because we do hear about budget cuts and so forth.
Well, as I've said, publishers supply bookstores. So publishing is reliant on the sales of books through bookstores or however else they're sold, online, whatever. I don't mean just the physical store, I mean in general. So it depends what's happening in the market. Obviously, at the moment, people are really minding, we've got really hard times, financial times with interest rates. So sales will have an impact on everything that happens in the publishing companies. You can also have situations where a small or a smaller publishing company can acquire a book and put everything into that book, and then that book doesn't work. And then they find that they have sitting in their warehouse like thousands of copies of a hardcover book that they can't sell.
Yeah.
And then change has to happen, somewhere they have to recoup that money, and, they might end up selling it for $1 or, to a remainder sale or whatever. And it's heartbreaking, but it does, unfortunately, it does happen. It's very cyclic as well. So I was lucky enough to be at Hachette when we were selling the Twilight series, which was huge, right? And
Scholastic would talk about Harry Potter, saving them.
Bloomsbury, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Scholastic had the Hunger Games. So
right.
Yeah. And that they're like life-changing moments in publishing. So there's, huge success happens like that. So it's cyclic. At the moment, there's the whole TikTok book talk thing, which I detest, but that's a whole nother thing. So books that are thriving in that sense are really funding publishing companies at the moment. So it's cyclic. Is in terms of getting, my advice for someone who wants to get into publishing is know what you're good at. So really know your strengths, know what you're really skilled at, and know which part of the publishing company you want to work in, because there's multiple different areas. Like I was sales and marketing, and then I was a managing director of Thames and Hudson. So but where I started as a merchandiser. When my kids were little, I started as a merchandiser, going into Kmart and Big W stores. It's part of the sales team, carrying the bags, scanning the back of books and putting orders in, and getting a trolley, going out the back of the Big W store, filling the trolley with books, taking it out and putting it on the shelf. That's where I started 30 years ago. So, carry the bag, so to say. That's what, you've got to do your work, and you have to be prepared.
You learn a lot doing that though, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's the same in most industries. You've got to be prepared to start at the bottom and work your way up, but know what you're good at and know what you love. Like I love sales, and I love the marketing side. And, now I can look at a book and go, that'll do well, because I've 30 years and it's ingrained in me.
Yeah. I just want to circle back very quickly to your comment about book talk. Wouldn't that drive sales? Why do you hate book talk?
Oh, it does drive sales.
Yeah.
I don't like the inauthenticity about it.
Right.
I don't like the drama that, because I'm not, social media, that kind of social media doesn't work for me. And that's a personal thing, because I'm about authenticity and about honesty. And, when I see someone holding up a book and going, I'm just like, oh, come on. The drama of it. Yeah. But it's great. It's selling books. Awesome. That's fab. But just the way that it works, it's not for me.
Yeah. One thing we do ask all our guests is for their tech tips. Do you have some digital tools that you use in publishing? We'd love to hear about them. They're always handy.
In publishing, I don't suggest, there's no suggestions that I have around that. I mean, different authors use different kind of tools to write with. That's not the sort of, I don't know. So I'm totally honest there. I don't know what sort of tools and things like that for writing. There's multiple ones. You just find the one that works for you. In terms of what I use, I'd be lost without my Mac.
Yes.
I just think that's been awesome. I do work from home a couple of days a week, and I do Zoom sessions for our courses. And lighting is really important for me, having great lighting and that sort of thing. But in terms of writing and publishing tech, no, I can't help you there, sorry.
No worries. This has been brilliant, Jodie. It's been such a great chat, and hearing about the ASA and what you guys do, especially the speed dating events. Tell us, where can people find out more about you and the ASA and kind of get onto those sorts of courses and things that you've been talking about?
Sure. So the ASA, so the Australian Society of Authors, our website, which is about to get a huge revamp and launching in August. Yep. I would suggest people go on and have a look at the Australian Society of Authors. It's asa.org. In there, you can see I'd go to the frequently asked questions section. So the FAQs are really in-depth. There's lots and lots of information, all categorized into different questions. There's a huge amount of info there. In terms of events, there's an events tab, and it lists the events that we have coming up in the next 2 months. I don't list a whole year at a time, because I'm really agile in it.
Yes.
So I tend to go with what's needed, looking at it kind of 2 to 3 months at a time. So at the moment I'm working on the July program, and we've just had Sydney Writers Week and Sydney Writers Festival and the Premiers Awards. So I'm really looking at what can go into the program following up from those things. So, and then in terms of me, I'm on LinkedIn. So people can find me on LinkedIn and then via the ASA as well.
Fantastic. Oh, well, that's great. And Jodie, we'll put links to all those things in the show notes to make it easier for everyone. And it's been such a good chat. I really enjoyed it. And
there'll be writers out there taking notes.
It's so good. And I think it's something our listeners will really come back to over and over again. When they get that idea for a book, it will help them fine tune some of those things. So that brings us to the end of our show this week. But thanks to everyone listening. And if you like the show, don't forget to leave a rating and review on the platform where you find your podcasts.
And thank you again to our sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software made just for Australian freelancers and sole traders. You can find them at rounded.com.au.
Thank you so much, Lynne and Rachel, for having me. It's been awesome.
It's great.
It's been lovely having you. And we will see you all next week with another guest, I think.
We will.
All righty.
Fantastic.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.